Hello. For the third project, I decided to do a mechanic recreation project. So I've always been interested in turn-based combat systems, so I went ahead and found a tutorial on how to create the Pokemon battle system. So let's look at a quick demo here. Alright, let's start this up. Once the scene loads, both the player and the enemy will spawn in, and we will get the initial dialogue. So now the player can choose an action. We will choose to attack. Now the enemy will attack. You can see the health bars are slowly going down. And with that, I will have beaten the rock and I won the battle. And then the game should start over here. Yep. Alright, and then I can attack, but then we can heal when it's our turn. And that's basically everything right now. This is a very basic system, but it was designed in a way that allows for a lot of customization. It was basically built for a creative phase. Alright, the tutorial that I followed was a Brachus tutorial. It was very informative and very well made. I really didn't have any issues throughout this research phase just because of how well this was made. And I also watched this video from Mix and Jam on recreating the game feel and juice from Balatro, and that has given me a lot of inspiration. I didn't use any of this from anything from this tutorial in this project, but it's given me a lot to think about in the future. So what I learned was how to create a turn-based combat system. Also got a little more comfortable working with UI. I learned how to use coroutines to delay. I learned how to break down systems and complicated mechanics, and I got some juice inspiration from the Mix and Jam video. The only issues and problems I had were the initial scene setup. It really wasn't a big problem. It just took me a while to get the basic scene set up on my own. Alright, now it's time for our code walk. This unit script, which is attached to both the player and the enemy, holds the unit's name, level, damage it causes when it attacks, max HP, and current HP. This battle HUD script, which is attached to both the player and the enemy's battle HUDs, holds the unit's name, level, and HP levels in order to display on the HUD UI. The functions of the battle HUD allow us to update the battle HUD UI. The set HUD function sets the battle HUD to represent the unit's name, level, and current and max HP. And the set HP function sets the battle HUD HP slider value to the unit's current HP. The battle system script holds most of the function of the system. The battle state enum holds all of the game states that we can have, which is start, player turn, enemy turn, waiting, and then the won and lost game states. So the battle system holds references to both the player and enemy game objects, their stats, their spawn locations, and all of the necessary UI and game states. The start function sets the game state to start and calls the setup battle function. The setup battle function spawns the player and enemy on their respective battle stations and updates the UI, both the dialogue UI and the battle HUDs. So we spawn the player on the player battle station and then get the player stats. Likewise, we spawn the enemy on the enemy battle station and get the enemy stats. Then we update the dialogue text UI. Then we set the player battle HUD and the enemy battle HUD. We wait 2 seconds before we set the game state to the player's turn and then begin the player's turn. On the player's turn, the dialogue text UI will update and allow the player to make one of two choices. They can either attack or heal. So if the attack button is pressed during the player's turn, the player will attack the enemy. If it's not the player's turn, nothing will happen, but if it is the player's turn, the player attack function will be called. When the player attack function is called, the player attacks the enemy. The enemy loses health points equal to the player's damage value, and this can only be called during the player's turn. Here, the enemy current HP is reduced by the player's damage value, And this is dead boolean is returned true if the enemy's current HP is equal to or less than 0. Then we update the enemy's HUD HP UI and also update the dialog text UI. Now we're going to wait for 2 seconds. We're going to set the game state to waiting. This prevents the player from action spamming. So if the enemy current HP is equal to or less than 0 and the enemy is dead, the player wins and we end the battle. Otherwise, if the enemy current HP is greater than 0, we set the game state to the enemy's turn and then we move into the enemy's turn. In the unit script, we have this take damage function that decreases the unit's current HP by the opposing unit's damage value. So here we decrease the unit's current HP by the opposing unit's damage. If the unit's current HP is less than or equal to 0, the unit is dead and we return true here. If the unit's current HP is greater than 0, the unit is not dead and we return false. When the heal button is clicked, the onHeal button function is called. If the heal button is pressed during the player's turn, the player heals. So here, if it's not the player's turn, we do nothing. Otherwise, if it is the player's turn, we call the player heal function and the player heals. In the player heal function, the player's current HP increases by 5, and this can only be called during the player's turn. So here, the player's current HP increases by 5. We update the player's HUD HP UI, and we also update the dialog text UI. Then we set the game state to waiting and wait for 2 seconds. This once again prevents player spamming. And then we set the game state to the enemy's turn and then we go into the enemy's turn. In the unit script, we have this heal function where we increase this unit's current HP by an amount which is set to 5. So the unit's current HP is increased by the set amount. If the unit's current HP is greater than the unit's max HP, we set the unit's current HP to the unit's max HP. The enemy turn function is called when it's the enemy's turn. The enemy right now will always attack the player, but we could easily add some logic to change this, and this can only be called during the enemy's turn. So at first we update the dialog text UI, and then we wait a second before the player's current HP is reduced by the enemy's damage, because the enemy will always attack. We then update the player's HUD HP UI before we wait another second, and then if the player's current HP is equal to or less than 0, the player is dead and the player loses. We will then end the battle. Otherwise, if the player's current HP is greater than 0, we set the game state to the player's turn, and then we move back to the player's turn. Finally, we have our end battle function, where we update the dialog text UI to congratulate or console the player for winning or losing. So if the player won, we update the dialog text UI to say you won the battle. Otherwise, if the player lost, we update the dialog text UI to say that you were defeated. We then wait 4 seconds before we call the setup battle function to restart the game loop. So what's next for my creative phase? I want to enhance this to mimic real Pokemon battles as accurately as possible. In order to do this, I will actually make an enemy AI. I'll also add action animations, UI changes for different game states, add more actions and attacks, involve more characters, get an improved game loop, and also add a 3v3 tag team game mode like in some Pokemon games. Alright, that's all. Thank you.